Hi everyone, my name is Angel Satterley. Welcome to Unboxing the New Essentials Curriculum, or the E5, I call it. We are going to be taking a look at 3 parts and all of that. But I am the current product sales specialist of Northern Illinois. So this video is going to look at the 3 parts of the curriculum. We're going to actually walk through the book, and then we're going to look at our resources and what's up next. The first part we're going to look at is the Essentials of the English Language Student Packet. This is actually just blank copies. There are all of the charts in there, as well as the editing pages and homework pages that you can copy for the task sheets, as well as spelling pages. But again, it's just the master copy pages. The next part is the Essentials of the English Language Solutions Manual. And this has all of the charts that are filled in color. It has all of the answers to the editing pages, and it has all of the sentences filled out and more. So this is your answer key for everything. And the one that we're going to spend the most time in is actually the curriculum book. So the curriculum book has the what, the why, the how, everything that you need to know about the actual curriculum and how to use it. So taking a look at the table of contents in the front of the page 3 of the curriculum book, you'll notice that there's two levels here. You have your gray, and then you have the white. So the gray is the big picture idea, the big ideas. It's the outline, it's the concepts. This first one here is the journey preparation. It is everything that you, as the teaching parent, need to know before you dig in and use this curriculum. I would suggest reading it before week 1, and I would also suggest reading it every once in a while as you're using the program to make sure that you are using it correctly and making sure that where that plumb line is. The second section, the getting started, is week 1 and 2. So we do a big picture overview week 1 and 2, and then week 3 we actually dig into it. If you notice on the second page here, the appendices, there's several different things contained in here. We have our punctuation and capitalization rules, our spelling rules, symbols for reading, and the phonograms, as well as a glossary of terms for the curriculum. We also have weekly sentences. Now this isn't the actual verbiage, it is just a list of the sentences by week. We have abbreviations, and then we have a detailed explanation of the analytical task and a sample of using the analytical task sheet, as well as a beautiful graphic of the 8 parts of speech. So that is the basics, the big picture overview of this curriculum book, and let's dig in. So on page 6, there is a letter from Lee Bortons where she actually discusses and welcomes us to the Essentials curriculum. In there, she mentions the 3 paths, which are interchangeable within the 3 paths, 3 tours, the 3 years of the Essentials curriculum. The next article on page 8 is why study Essentials grammar, and there's 3 big reasons that they explain. And one is to study other languages, one is to become a better communicator, specifically a writer within the English language, and to construct logical arguments, as well as to build mental acuity. And in this article, I love some of the examples they give, like yeah, I just love them. And there's a book that they mention in there, Rebecca Sunnybrook, that I've frequently thought about reading, but this article really makes me want to read it all the more. The next section on page 12 is what is involved in the study of grammar, and in here they list 7 skills, but then there's 8 headings. So the 7 skills are the copywork, reading, listening, speaking, writing, spelling, editing, and then analyzing is putting it all together. So those are the skills involved in language arts. And I think this is beautiful. I am frequently asked within CC at the elementary age, we are supposed to add math and language arts beyond the foundations curriculum. And so this is a complete list of what all of the parts of a language arts or grammar study is. And they give you some ideas on how to do that using the essentials curriculum and more. The next section, how do essentials families study grammar? And if you look here, there's two headings, memorize and analyze. And I love that because I wish they would have put memorize much, much larger, because that is the focus. And then we do that and use that to analyze things. So that's it. It gives you a big picture overview of the 6 analytical tasks, but again, is explained in the appendix. The next page, page 16, is tools for learning the arts of the grammar and dialectic. In the practicums the last few years, we've been talking about the 5 core habits of grammar and the 5 core habits and the 5 common topics. These 2 pages, 16 and 17, explain to us, remind us what those are and how we can use them within essentials. So one thing to note is if you notice the font difference and where it's set, this first one reminds us what naming is. The second one gives us an example of how to use it. So it's kind of a confusing page if you're not already familiar with those 5 core habits and the 5 common topics, but it is a beautiful way to use those tools within our homeschool. The next page is titled A Parent's Guide to Tailoring for Your Season. This is sometimes called accommodation, but accommodation sounds like we're slowing things down, but you don't have to. You can speed them up as well. So it's really a tailoring. It is a how can I make this fit my family, which is why they use the word tailoring. How can we fit it to use my family? And we may have busy seasons, we may have slower seasons, and so it allows us to remember what the goal is and then decide for ourselves how to implement those goals. And so it actually has 4 tasks that you can do to prepare for the year. It has tailoring the master chart ideas, and it has tailoring the dialectic discussion ideas. On page 19, there's a beautiful graphic, which I've put here, and you need to understand this graphic in order to know how to use it. So let's go ahead and explain it. First thing I want to talk about is you'll notice the first year, second year, third year, and then you'll notice the ages, 9, 10 to 11, 10 to 11, or 11 to 12, 10 to 12. So how you would use this is if you have a 9-year-old and you're planning on putting them into essentials for 3 years, this would be your goal for year 1, year 2, year 3. If you had a 10-year-old that you are only planning on putting in essentials 2 years, this would be your goal year 1, year 2. And if you had a student, a little bit older student, who you're only planning on putting in 1 year, this would be your goal for year 1. So that's how you use that. And then also your second year here, your student would be expected to do this and this. Your third year, you'd be expected to do all 3. Next thing to note on here is the section up here where it says, not our first tour. Anytime you see this little stamp, if you are a first year, you do not need to pay attention to that. That is stuff that is a little bit more complex, and you'll definitely need some additional knowledge. So this is taking into consideration that you've been through at least 1 year, and so there's information that you need in order to do that you probably don't have as a first year. The other thing to note on here is a very specific, this is my chart goals. So it says 2 or 1, your first year, you're going to copy the definitions of everything in large green type. So if you look at the charts in the solutions manual, you'll see that there's stuff in green and that some of that stuff is larger and some is smaller. So your first year, you're just going to focus on the large green information, and that's what you're working on memorizing. Your second year, you're going to focus on anything in green, both the large and the small font. And then your third year, you're going to work on memorizing all the words in every chart. On page 20, we have the insights on spelling, and this is really talking about that some kids are natural spellers, some kids are studious spellers, some kids are struggling spellers, but Lee Borton's really plays out like how to use the spelling, why she chose the spelling, and what the connection with Spelling Plus is. And it's not necessarily the exactly how to use the spelling list, but it is a really good start. The next section, the editing rules for punctuation and capitalization, is an explanation of how to use the punctuation, when to use it. So do you expect it on the first draft, the rough draft of everything? What exactly should the expectations be as teaching parents? So I want to reiterate that these first 30 pages of this curriculum book is essential for the teaching parent to read through. It is really the how, the why, the what of what we are doing, and you need that information in order to make decisions on how to best use it. It's kind of like in the welcome letter, Ms. Borton's explains that this curriculum book is a compass. And so you need to know where you're going, you need to know how to get there and how to use a compass. If you don't know those things, then you can't use a map adequately, you can't use a compass adequately. And so you have to know what the goal is for yourself, and you need to know whether or not you're on board with the goals of this curriculum. And you can't do that if you haven't read those first 30 pages. So you have got to read those as the teaching parent and make sure that you understand the curriculum and what the expectations are so that you can choose how to use it within your actual homeschool. So again, we have the curriculum book. That one is expected to be brought back and forth to community each week. And actually, if you look on page 28, they put together how to use these three together. So the curriculum book is expected to be brought back and forth each week. The student packet is master copy pages that you will want to use to create workbooks, worksheets, whatever. And then the solutions manual is the manual for everything. And they broke them apart specifically so that you didn't have to bring the entire huge 3-ring binder. You just have to bring the you could actually just bring the week 1, but I would suggest bringing your entire curriculum book. Okay, so moving on, if you go to the scope and sequence on page 30 and 31, something that you need to know in order to understand this is a big picture overview of the essentials. Now remember, you also have the IEW, the writing portion, but this is the English grammar portion. On here, if the charts are in dark color, such as in week 1, charts A and B are in dark, that means it's being introduced. If they are in light gray, that means they are being reviewed. So if you look at week 7, we have chart I is new, chart E is review. Moving on page 33, if you put your inserts in there, week 1 insert, on the left you're going to have a Bible verse, an encouraging note, and a place for memoria. And this is a place to make this curriculum your own, make it beautiful, put memories, put ideas. Some people are journalers, some people are not, but that's a place for you to create memories, honestly. And it's a beautiful way to commemorate this. And let me tell you, I still have my essentials guide. So, and my daughter, when she was 16, pulled it out and went through it and stuff. So it's okay to make it your own, make it beautiful, and plan on keeping it for a long time. On page 33, though, this is our weekly overview. And some things you need to know in order to understand this is, first of all, these first two rows is what we will be focusing on on Community Day. This third row is for use at home, as well as the bottom. So this bottom is where you can add your writing, your arithmetic, and there's a third spot here. You could add your Bible, you could add notes, whatever you choose. The other thing is that you read down. So there is on page 87 one example of the sentences, the weekly sentences, which actually span 2 boxes. So we read them down. Oh, one thing else on that weekly overview, the spelling rule listed there and the capitalization rule listed there is not listed in the weekly spelling list later on, although the homophones are listed. So if you turn the page to page 34, it'll say parent preparation. The parent preparation each week is expected to be read before class. So make sure that you read this parent preparation. It goes through page 39, but I would honestly suggest reading all the way through the entire week 1, which would be through page 42 before your week 1 class. It's expected that you're going to read it, that you're going to have that knowledge before you come to class, and then you can ask your questions that you have. The next 2 pages are 40 and 41 are the in community and at home section. And this is setting up parents and students to be prepared for the challenge guide, which is set up with what do we do in community and what do we do at home. The benefit of this is you can see exactly what your tutor is going to be doing in community. If you miss a day, you really haven't missed the information because it's there for you. And also if you have questions about whether or not your student with learning quirks is going to be able to do certain things, like you can address that ahead of time if you've read it. Although that isn't necessarily the purpose, but that way you know exactly what the tutor is going to do. And as a side plug, it also allows you to see, if you read it ahead of time, it allows you to see how the tutor chose to implement that, and you could potentially even acknowledge that you have everything that you need to be a tutor yourself. The next page, 42, is Latin connection. And each week there's Latin connections, and as far as I have seen, I have not seen any expectations on how to use this within your homeschool, but it is really interesting to have that connection, especially if you have some older challenge students as well as your essential student. You can help integrate conversation between the two of them using these connections. So let's talk for a minute about practicality about how I would set my books up. So you have your curriculum book. You need your curriculum book. That's what you're bringing to Community Day. That's down here, number 4. The other 2, the student packet those are your master copies. And so you need 2 things for your students. You need copy work of the charts, and you need the editing pages and potentially your spelling and pages. So the copy work and the analytical task sheets, I personally would create something for the student, whether that be copying the charts and having them in page protectors where you have the blank on one side, the answer on the other, and they flip back and forth, they fill out what they know, and then they flip back and forth and finish filling it in. Whether it be using the trivium tables, or but you basically need one set of one way to remember those charts for each student. You also need the ability to do the task sheets. Again, you could do that on the whiteboard. You could do that. You could copy the analytical task sheets into and create like a notebook of them, or just copy them as you need them. Or you could even just use the analytical task sheet trivium table. So there's different ways to do that. The editing pages, same thing. You could copy them and make a workbook. You could do the same thing with the spelling pages, but personally, I think I would probably copy them as needed and put them into a 3-ring binder afterwards, so that if a student needs to repeat an editing page, you can easily do that and it's not noticeable to them. But then so CC is making those available digitally. So if you have access to CC Connected, you'll have access to those digital files. So therefore, you do not need to actually copy yours currently. The answer key, you're also going to want to set aside and make sure that that's well maintained so that you can reference it as you're going through your sentences and those things. But again, those do not need to be brought to community, which is why they are separated into a separate binder of sorts. So if you go back to the scope and sequence, you'll notice what charts, or excuse me, the tailoring page, you'll see exactly what the expectations are for each year. So if this is your first year, you're expected to memorize charts A, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, and L. That's the goal. And so you'll notice that those are spread throughout all 3 of these charts. So you will, if you're using the trivium tables, you will want to purchase all 3 of them. And then the analytical task sheet is on a separate one. So you may want all 4 of the charts. A couple of resources to discuss the Spelling Plus. The Spelling Plus really breaks down exactly how to use it, how to implement it, and that it's actually supposed to be for all levels of elementary, although Essentials is teaching specifically spelling the 4th through 6th grade. It also has in there some fascinating history of our language that actually explains words and specific words and how they came into being, and it's really fascinating. It's a great reference, and it's not much. It's probably about 30 pages of the actual content, but they have some different ideas in there. It is slightly different than what Lee Borton's has implemented because she has been influenced, but it is not exactly the Spelling Plus philosophies. So it's interesting to read, and I'm a big person that you go right to the source. So when I read it after reading the Essentials 5, the E5 guide, I was very intrigued that how Lee Borton's and her academic team, chose to put it together. So if you go to the CC bookstore, at the very bottom of the Essentials curriculum page, you will find errata sheets that just list individual changes that need to be made, and you will find the errata pages. CC loves us so much that they actually gave us a digital file of the errata pages that they may go away as new printings come about. So if you have the current edition, you will want to go in and save that file. But that way you can print it and replace it in your binder. There's also some frequently asked questions, as well as 4th edition matchup. And in case you know anybody who does not have their Essentials curriculum yet, if it's back ordered, then we do have the first 2 weeks uploaded, so that everyone will have access to those until they are, and that will be provided until everyone has their books. CC Connected has a few things for you also. If you notice, I copied the week 1 list of what's provided. There's a video explanation of each and every chart. There is a video explanation of the spelling, punctuation, and homophones, and there is a spelling list video where they read off the spelling list for the 3 different levels, and so kids could actually practice their spelling test or take their spelling test using this video. There's some essentials at home information and ideas, as well as this onward easing or easing, depending on what part of the country you're from. So this onward, though, has a plethora of information. It actually, CC has also included in that the student resource notebook for the week. And so the spelling pages are in there. The task sheets are in there for the week. Like everything that you would need to print, that you would need, all of the worksheets, additional worksheets that people have created, as well as checklists. And there's just a wealth of information in there. And so if there's also reminders about things that are in the curriculum, there's encouragement, there's a ton of information in there that we as parents have access to if you have a CC Connected subscription. And I would highly recommend it because it puts it all in one place instead of you having to go and look through it through CC Connected. So what's up next? If you were at the meeting on the 3rd, I will be emailing you with the resources. And if you have additional questions, if you want to talk about exactly how to use this curriculum specifically within your homeschool, if you need ideas, then you can set up a curriculum consultation appointment with me, and I would be happy to talk to you more about that one-on-one. So those and that calendly.com/shopping with Angel 30 minutes is my appointment setting program that I use. So I look forward to seeing you all again in the future. If you have any questions about the E5 or any other CC products, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. Thank you and have a blessed day.